Most of you know Melody Barnes from her many years as the chief counsel to Senator Kennedy on the Judiciary Committee, or from her time running policy at the Center for American Progress or at the Equal Opportunity Commission. And she is someone who has been devoted to these issues for a very long time. My favorite story about Melody is one that I read in the New York Times, which says, where she said that she sold cupcakes for George McGovern at age 8. Now, that is civic participation young, and as someone who grew up in politics, I approve. Melody Barnes.
I've never had that kind of music when I've walked before. Kind of enjoyed it. So good afternoon to everyone. And Koki, thank you so much for that kind introduction and for helping us start this really, really wonderful day. I'd also like to thank America Forward, ServiceNation, and Voices for National Service for your collaboration, your leadership, and for bringing all of us together today. It's my pleasure to share the stage this afternoon with so many who have dedicated their careers to national service and to also expanding opportunities so that others can serve. I know the Honorable Harris Wofford is here, and he's been a guiding star for many of us. Also, I'd like to thank the wonderful Jean Shaheen that I was just sitting next with and who you will, next to and you all will be hearing from. And also our new Corporation for National and Community Service CEO, Patrick Corvington, my friend Vicki Kennedy, and I would just like to say that the nation owes Vicki a debt of gratitude. I cannot tell you that applause is well deserved. The things that Vicki did behind the scenes to make sure that this country now has health care reform, just your relentlessness and your service and your dedication. Thank you so much for that. Also, I know Cara Kennedy is here as well, and I want to thank the service leaders who are also here, John Podesta, my friend and former colleague, Shirley Sagawa, and Michelle Nunn, who I've also had the pleasure of working with. It's certainly not news to anyone here that our nation is facing challenges that we haven't seen in many, many generations. And at this moment, your service, your leadership, and your commitment is really crucial. For 15 months, President Obama has been hard at work steering our economy away from the brink of depression, fighting to strengthen our communities by sparking job creation, reforming our health insurance system, and opening the door to higher education for millions of students. He's been laying the groundwork for prosperity for everyone. But we know that government can't do this alone. And if there was ever one, this is an all-hands-on-deck moment. And that's why the President has called on every American to commit to meaningful volunteer service in their daily lives. National service and innovation, or community solutions as we call it at the White House, are critical tools to addressing our nation's biggest challenges. The good news is that millions of Americans have stepped up to the plate, and I feel particularly optimistic about the future when I look at all the service-minded leaders that are sitting in this room. As leaders of some of our country's top community service programs, your organizations are on the front lines of every crisis imaginable, and I know this, whether it's the housing and foreclosure crisis or a healthcare crisis or our economic crisis, you name it, you're at the front, you're at ground zero. And you've answered the call to serve at a time when our country really needs you the most. You found innovative ways to help your neighbors and improve your communities, and you've helped realize the President's vision of a service-driven citizenry and helping us to bring that to fruition. So I just want to take a moment to thank you for all of your work. But no good deed goes unpunished. We need more. We need you more. And we need more troops in our service army. And that's why the President supported and signed 1 year ago today the bipartisan Edward M. Kennedy Serve America Act to triple the size of AmeriCorps by the year 2017 and build a new generation of service leaders. In the Senate, the bill was championed, as Koki said, by Orrin Hatch and Ted Kennedy, who knew the future of service was too important to be bogged down in ideological differences and political battles. It's when we come together with a shared vision and a common purpose that great strides forward can be made. And already we've seen results that would make Senator Kennedy so, so proud. People like Anna Makiovac, an AmeriCorps Recovery Act fellow from Georgia, who recently moved from private legal practice to a legal aid program devoted to preventing home foreclosures. And then there's AmeriCorps Vista members Sarah Burns and Josh Cowles, who were instrumental in helping a local public library provide free volunteer-taught classes to provide men and women with vital job skills. Because of Sarah and Josh's work, the center has seen a 62% increase in the use of its services. And recently, the center secured funding to expand their services to other communities. And then there's stories like the one of Gary. Gary chose to enlist in the Army in 1966, and he'd had a tour of duty in Vietnam. For 40 years later, he found himself in a position that he never imagined. He was homeless. Due to the circumstances and due to the economic crisis that surrounded his community and our country, he found himself living without a place to call home. After 9 months of homelessness, his life began to change in May of 2009. An employment program for seniors led him to the Longview Housing Authority, which eventually became the host site for his AmeriCorps position, a position created with Recovery Act funds and sponsored by the United Way. Last June, Gary enrolled as a full-time member of the local AmeriCorps recovery team and used his first-hand experience with homelessness to reach out to other homeless veterans. He assisted unemployed and veterans with job readiness tools, informed them of available housing programs, and enabled them to connect with services through the local VA. He eventually helped the Longview Housing Authority open up VetWorks in only 4 months, something that they thought it would take a year to do. Thanks to Gary's work, homeless veterans are off the streets. So you have Anna, Josh, Sarah, and Gary, 4 people who are transforming communities and lives, including their own. And thanks to the Serve America Act, millions more of all ages and all backgrounds will get the same opportunity to transform their neighborhoods. Service as solution. It couldn't happen at a more critical time. The Recovery Act provided $200 million to put more than 15,000 Americans to work as AmeriCorps members, and every day they provide now vital services in our most economically distressed communities. Job counseling and placement services to neighbors facing unemployment, foreclosure prevention and financial counseling to families at risk of poverty, weatherizing homes, strengthening food banks, supporting health care and independent health services. The list goes on and on. And part of coming together to solve our nation's greatest challenges means that we're not only increasing the number who serve, people like Anna and Josh and Gary, but also acknowledging that government alone is not the solution. Individuals across the country are responding to the tough problems by developing answers that will lead to more transformational and lasting change. We need to partner with them, as well as nonprofits, foundations, and corporations to solve our nation's problems. To this end, the Serve America Act also established the Social Innovation Fund to identify innovative, effective programs from across the country and help them replicate and grow to scale. Ordinary people can do extraordinary things, and I know that you see this in the work that you do. Extraordinary things if they're simply given the proper tools and support. The best ideas often come straight from the communities that need them the most. With the Social Innovation Fund and similar funds in other federal agencies across our government, we can better support creative, results-oriented, and proven models and take them to scale in communities around the country. Now, the next great leap will occur when we as a country start to realize that service, civic participation, and innovation are core to addressing the nation's challenges, not just something nice to do. That's why the President invested in this large expansion, and that's why he and the First Lady are leading by example. Whether it's reading to kids or whether it's a monthly mentoring program that takes place in the White House, the First Lady even publicly challenged students at George Washington University this past year that if they completed 100,000 hours of service, she would speak at their commencement ceremony. And she will be doing that in just a few short weeks. Given the President and the First Lady's commitment to service, we are particularly thrilled that Patrick Corvington has joined us as the new CEO of the Corporation for National and Community Service. For many, many years, he's been on the front lines of leadership development and volunteerism, dedicating his career to building the next generation of leaders and investing in the future of national service and social innovation. He's a great leader for the moment, and I'm proud to call him my colleague and my friend, and call him I do a lot. And I'm also pleased to work with him to realize the President's goals. In closing, I'd like to thank you again for the hard work that you've done over the past year to promote national service since the Serve America Act became law. It is appropriate that this legislation is named for Senator Kennedy, a true visionary and a champion for service, a mentor to many, many people in this room, including myself. You know, when Senator Kennedy spoke of service, he often recounted the parable of the starfish. I don't know how many of you are aware of this story, but in the parable of the starfish, an elderly man encounters a young boy surrounded by starfish on a nearly deserted beach. The young boy is eagerly picking up one starfish after another and tossing them back into the ocean. So the older man looks at him quizzically and says, "Little boy, what are you doing?" And the boy tells him that he's trying to save the starfish. Chuckling, the man says, "Son, there are thousands of starfish, but there's only one of you. How can you expect to make a difference?" And gently tossing a starfish into the sea, the little boy said, "It will make a difference to that one. It will make a difference to that one." To my mind, working with Senator Kennedy for all of those years, he's like that boy, methodically, deliberately, tending to individuals and communities, always believing in the possibility for transformation. If he pressed a little harder, more education for more children. If he led the charge, body armor for more soldiers. If he introduced the bill, redress for hate crimes. If he put his shoulder to the wheel, year after year, decade after decade, health care for all Americans. The senator was motivated by his huge, huge heart, but he was disciplined by study and hard work and mastery of the institution, the Senate, that he loved. In my mind, Ted Kennedy embodied national service. And like all great leaders, he challenged us, he still challenges us, to find our own little patch of beach and toss a starfish, one after the other, back into the sea. So I want to thank you for all you are doing on your own little patch of beach, tending one starfish after another. And I want to say thank you for all that we will do in the future, all the good work, all the little starfish that we will be able to serve, to protect, and encourage to serve others. Thank you so much.